Good morning, Mr. Chairman, all the dignitaries, invited guests, and the students in the audience. At the outset, let me express my profound gratitude to the organizers for inviting me, specifically Professor Himadri Chattopadhyay and Professor Sudipto De for taking very special interest in my work. Now, as you can see, that this presentation is on study on vapor bubbles in various regimes of boiling. And relevance to this talk, to the symposium or the conference, is basically any energy device you can think about. Of course, today mobile phones are also run by energy device, which is lithium-ion battery. Now, the regimes of battery and fuel cell, that is of course one side, and hydroelectric power, whether it is micro hydroelectric power or large scale hydroelectric power. In these two areas, probably boiling doesn't have any direct relevance. Of course, hydropower, it has some phase change related activities, cavitation, etc., but not really to study the boiling. But any other device, whether it is conventional steam power plant or nuclear power plant, or even if you think about geothermal energy, where usually the working fluid is something like neopentane or isopentane, low boiling point fluids. Everywhere basically steam is produced, and then that steam is expanded in the turbine, and that is the way of generating power. So, and all these devices, boiling has a very big role. Of course, when you come to the device level, then you use the correlations that are developed from fundamental studies. But my study or my presentation or my activity, one of the activities which is boiling, is basically related to fundamental studies, not really very application oriented, that how it can be readily adapted in devices. But as you know, that science done by several people that go hand in hand. Everybody doesn't do everything. So fundamental studies have its own place, which finally contributes to design and the devices. So this talk is on basically, as you can see, that capturing the vapor bubbles in various regimes of boiling, which was really impossible even 10 years back, through numerical simulation, computational studies. Of course, wherever possible, we have done related experiments and comparison with the experiments. But here primarily I will focus on the fundamental developments. Now, boiling, as you know, that generally you can say divided by two big verticals. One is nucleate boiling, another is film boiling, and in between transition boiling. Nucleate boiling occurs basically, this is heat transfer from superheated liquid. Basically the liquid at any location, it gets superheated, and then microconvection currents, which is called microlayer, from the solid substrate. And always the heat flux is below the critical heat flux, and bubble dynamics is governed by the wettability of the surface and the superheat of the heating surface and the morphology of the surface. Whereas film boiling, heat transfer occurs from superheated surface to vapor, and always the heat flux is above the critical heat flux, and basically the heat transfer rate is related to the most dangerous wavelength of this is basically boiling is spatiotemporal instability. It's instability between vapor phase and liquid phase, and the wavelengths which undulates and finally breaks the so balance between the vapor phase and vapor layer and the liquid layer is called most dangerous wavelength into growth rate. And growth rate in presence of electric field or in absence of electric field is a very generalized expression. If you this is effect of electric field, if you switch off effect of electric field, this is in absence of electric field, and this is when electric fields are applied, because boiling in many places, especially in space applications, electric fields are needed. And M is the wave number, and you can see from these animations how the bubbles are formed and they are sort of disseminated in the stream. And here you can see at the surface how depending on surface morphology, how finally nucleation takes place and nucleated bubble finally goes to the stream. Now this entire paradigm is basically based on a computational technique which is called CLS VOF method. VOF is volume of fluid, which was developed in Los Alamos Scientific Laboratory. Later on, many places it was adopted. And LS is basically level set method, which was developed by Professor Stanley Osher, one of the greatest mathematicians of the contemporary time from UCLA, who got field medal also because of his level set theory. Now, this level set has its own advantage, I will discuss. VOF has its own advantage. Many people across the world, blended level set and VOF, the way they envisage it would work best. So our group means my students, now this group is little bit expanded. I can say, me, my students and co-workers in IIT Kanpur. I had a short stay in CSIR laboratory, CMERI. So co-workers in CMERI, and then finally my students in IIT Guwahati, and back to again IIT Kanpur. So, a group of people, about some, 7-8 people are involved in development of this code and using it for two-phase flows, bubbly flows. Of course, there can be other form of two-phase flows and other activities, but this is really vapor bubbles. Now, it is a very unique concept. We do not use different equations for the vapor phase and the liquid phase. It's called one fluid formalism. I will show it again, although here we have written plane continuity equation and momentum equation, which has been augmented by two additional body force terms and then energy equation. This additional body force terms, one is basically you can see volumetric electric force term. It is in presence of electric field, and another is basically surface volume force, which is, as you can see, I will explain also. This is basically surface tension coefficient, curvature of the cell of interest where it is separated by liquid vapor interface. So curvature and then surface normal to the interface, and this is delta Dirac function. This gets activated only on the interface, other places it is 0. And then those are explained, and this is basically a deformation tensor, which contributes to, finally contributes as the viscous force. Now, if you consider any cell which has been partially occupied by liquid and partially occupied by vapor, now in this process, basically this liquid vapor interface that gets changed, that get transferred from one cell to another cell, and this advection is modeled by advection equation. You can see F is basically, mathematicians call it color function. Here it is basically the volume fraction of liquid. So it is fluxed from one cell to another cell, and this advection equation is basically discretized using operator split approach in two different directions through two space operators. And this is a very historically important paper by Puckett and his groups. What I was saying, that this formulation, as you can see, that basically we have written only one set of continuity, then momentum equation, three equations, and energy equation. But here what we do, as I said, that we use one fluid formalism, that means the liquid phase and the vapor phase, they are sort of averaged in such a way that if any cell is occupied by only liquid, then it will assume the value of rho L. If any cell is occupied by only vapor, then it will assume the density, vapor density. Otherwise, interface cells will have this, volume fraction based density. Similarly, this is volume fraction based viscosity. And you can see this F tilde, this is basically 0 for gaseous cell, 1 for liquid cell, and it's having a fractional value in the two-phase cell. And the interface basically, is sort of better nurtured when we go for volume fraction based analysis. After that, when the interface is found out, then at the interface we apply Stanley-Osher's level set function, and for the level set function we use basically Heaviside function. And this is again a very historically very important development called Elvira. This is least square volume interface reconstruction algorithm, and through this finally the sharp interface is defined, and from the sharp interface then finally surface normal and the curvature, these are calculated. All this calculation etc., these are documented in this paper. This was PhD work of Professor Tomar, also Daniel Gerlach. Both of them did PhD together. He was a joint student of Professor Durst in University of Erlangen and me at IIT Kanpur. And Gaurav Tomar is a associate professor in IISc Bangalore now. Anyway, so cut the long story short, as I said that the surface tension at the interface, the surface tension force plays the major role, and you can see we have surface tension force is basically force per unit length. But when we go for application in Navier-Stokes equations, it has to be convoluted as force per unit area. So it is multiplied by delta Dirac function. And then total surface force can have two components. One is normal component, another is tangential component. Tangential component becomes important if it is Marangoni convection. But here, because of phase change, at the phase there cannot be any temperature gradient. Entire interface is at the saturation temperature. So along the interface there is no gradient. So Marangoni is absent. Delta Dirac function is calculated this way, and finally this becomes the surface tension force. Again, entire formulation was envisaged and developed by Brackbill and his group. Now here, as I said, that we will see, we have said different regimes. A very, critical application or very important application of boiling, in addition to power generating systems, is used in space vehicles, also powering the space vehicles. And there, basically, as you know, that gravity is very, very less, so heat transfer becomes very poor. And in order to get back the rated heat transfer, the entire equipment or boiling equipment is placed under a very strong electric field. Now, so conservation of electric field is very important for those applications. And here we have, you can see this curl of E equal to 0, and which is basically electric field. And then that means E must be gradient of some scalar quantity, and this is electric potential is psi. Then electric displacement vector, grad of D equal to 0, whereas the absolute permittivity and the medium permittivity both will come. So we have, this is epsilon 0 is absolute permittivity, and this another epsilon, it is based on the medium. So these two will come in the conservation equation. So finally, the electric field you have seen, which augments the Navier-Stokes equation, these three terms appear there. One is Coulombic force based on the free charges, and this is dielectrophoresis effect, basically electrostrictive forces, and these are the forces due to gradient of electric permittivity. Now, it depends on which fluid you are using. Now, here we have used mostly the results I will discuss about are water and refrigerant 134A, or 134A and water. So, both the fluids can be modeled as leaky dielectric or pure dielectric. Now, we have developed some models based on leaky dielectric. I do not have those results today. I will show it is pure dielectric. So, pure dielectric, this term disappears. This comes for the leaky dielectrics, and this will also disappear. So, basically this body force term is called Maxwell stress tensor. And this Maxwell, how this was developed, very detailed calculation of Maxwell stress tensor and how we can neglect these two are available in this paper. Again, this was a joint publication of Gaurav and Daniel, and we other collaborators also joined when we developed this work. Now, in this, as I said, I have shown you the continuity equation, momentum equations, energy equation. Momentum equations are augmented by the surface tension force and the electric force. But, these are the cells which are either vapor cells or liquid cells. Interface cells will have rho and mu, surface tension based rho and surface tension based mu. But there, the continuity equation again has to be changed, because at the interface, I will, rather than discussing it equation wise, because students are also there. So let me explain it physically. Just imagine a cell which is half occupied by liquid and half occupied by vapor. Maybe vapor is sitting on the top of liquid. Now, when heat flux is coming, this heat flux, or liquid vice versa, or liquid is sitting on the top of vapor, because vapor is growing, it is easier to follow. A cell, lower half, some part is occupied by vapor and upper half is occupied by liquid. Now, energy which is coming from the substrate, from the solid, that enters into liquid phase, but since liquid is at the saturation point, so it will not heat up much to the liquid. It will tend to, heat up liquid for, getting superheated, the vapor into getting superheated vapor, but it will, be more sort of prone to the liquid part. So this energy will go to the liquid part. Depending on the latent heat of the liquid, some amount of liquid will be converted into vapor, and that will be pushed, below. So the interface progresses. And that is how whole dynamics is said, interface progress is, monitored. And for that, for those interface cells, the continuity equation has to be changed. As you can see that this is the heat flux, this is the latent heat of evaporation, this is the liquid density, this is the vapor density, this is the Ui is the progress of the interface front, and U is velocity at any time on the interface front. This is the initial position of the interface. So basically, the in the two-phase cells, the continuity equation is modified in this way. And again, I would say that we have discussed about the electric field and electric field driven Maxwell stress. Basically, electric field driven Maxwell stress also acts in the normal direction of the pressure. It does not have, significant component in the tangential direction. So finally, this is the continuity equation in the bulk region, vapor or liquid. This is at the interface. This is the energy equation, and this is the momentum equation. And the momentum equation convective terms are discretized by using, again, we take recourse to Professor Stanley Osher. A scheme developed by him is called essentially non-oscillatory scheme, ENO scheme, and other space derivatives are basically second order. So having done that, we did some validations. I have not placed those validations here. Typical validations tests of, Stefan's boiling, or basically rotating a circle 1,000 times in the clockwise direction and anti-clockwise direction. Those were done. And then we will straightaway come to saturated film boiling, and we are this is a model domain where you consider existence of a very thin vapor layer. It has been exaggerated or, basically modify, exaggerated or what is called magnification has been done. So magnified. So this is the vapor layer, this is the liquid layer, and the side boundary conditions. At the interface, we cannot apply any boundary condition, that has to evolve. And confining surfaces on the solid surface, no slip condition, and all the usual, heat flux conditions, those are there. At x equal to 0 and x equal to L, you can see symmetry conditions are given. At exit boundary conditions are given. Again, all gradients have been set to 0. And at the substrate, T equal to T sat plus T superheated. Degree of superheat has been defined here. Now we will show few very interesting results. I said that work has been done by different people, different places. This work was primarily done by Abhiram Hens. He is now in NIT Durgapur. He was in CMERI at that time when I was there. So you can see that degree of superheat is being varied from very low superheat to very high superheat. And you can see basically the bubble formation sites over a given length, and this is on this length you can see 6 sites are there. So each one will just one instant I have shown. So all 6 bubbles will be seen. So this is for Jacob number 2.54, which is for delta T equal to twice K. So we keep on increasing delta T. Number of bubble formation sites, tend to change, but there is no significant change till 10K, that means Jacob number 12.7. But at Jacob number 17.78 or degree of superheat 14K onwards, we can see that exactly 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 bubbles, are being formed. Now, this is a very significant change in the fundamental theory of boiling. So far, boiling used to describe this film boiling, the boiling scenario, instability used to be described by Taylor-Helmholtz instability. And very historical experiments were done by Berenson, and Berenson's predictions matched very well with the Taylor-Helmholtz instability, and exactly due to Taylor-Helmholtz instability, this is the wavelength of most dangerous wave. And you can see this twice pi root over 3 sigma substantial coefficient rho L minus rho G into G. Now, this part twice pi into root over, if we pull out 3, rest of the terms we can define as the characteristics length. So, root 3 lambda c, and this was very well established result of Berenson and few others who worked with them. This is very, probably one of the most cited papers in entire heat transfer literature. The work was done in 1961. So far, people used to believe that is the only, sort of instability that takes place. But here, of course, this work was done by Professor Gaurav Tomar, as I said, who is a faculty member in IISc Bangalore now, during his PhD. He did it analytically. And analytically, using basically lubrication theory, he got, slightly different result. And we had to establish, several mathematicians questioned when we communicated that paper. And finally, we had to establish the whole theory after that was accepted. But now, we could show it completely without going to the analytical method, which Gaurav did. Oviram did it completely numerically. You can see that here, when typically after this bubble formation sites, we tried to calculate the wavelength due to which instability is occurring. And we got this result, basically root 2 lambda c. And this is Rayleigh-Taylor instability, result due to Rayleigh-Taylor instability. We then, following Gaurav's work, we again tried to prove it or probe into it, and here basically this is viscous instability, Taylor-Helmholtz instability, and result indeed comes to root 2 lambda c. And when you go for higher Jacob number or higher degree of superheat, this slowly tends from viscous instability to inviscid instability, and Taylor-Helmholtz instability is inviscid instability. So this is basically a transition from viscous instability to inviscid instability, and at the same time Rayleigh-Taylor instability to Taylor-Helmholtz instability. And this is supposed to be, or according to the peers in the field, a reasonably good discovery in fundamentals of boiling. And additionally, what Oviram also did, that beyond 18K, for, of course, this is water system, for another fluid it will have respective superheats. Now, when we go for 20K superheat, these bubble formation sites do not really contribute to bubbles. Basically, they contribute to vapor jets, and columns shoot out from the substrate to the top of the pool. As you can see, some are looking like bubble, but most of the sites it will be vapor jets which will shoot out and finally reach the top. Now, having done that, we can further probe into it. See, this is from the previous results. This is again for 2K, 5K, 18K, 22K. We, very specifically focused on those few superheats. Now, if you go for under such a situation, you calculate the heat flux on the entire surface and go for space-wise average Nusselt number calculation for each substrate. And then that space-wise average Nusselt number is plotted against time. And as I said, that this entire phenomena are unstable phenomena. So basically, you will get periodicity in Nusselt number. So Nusselt number distribution, over time, space-wise average Nusselt number, you can see that, different signals. This is for 2K, this is for 5K, and this dotted line for 22K, firm line is for 18K. So very clearly you can see that for, basically 2K, you get a time period which is 1.12 second. That means time period is high, mean frequency is very low. You keep on increasing superheat, again you will see time period will reduce for 18K, further reduce. So that means frequency will be higher. So for lower superheat, discrete bubbles, smaller temporal, time period is high, yes. So larger time period we got. So larger time period, 1 by tau, 1 by time period, that means frequency. So time period is larger for larger superheat, that means frequency is smaller. So smaller temporal frequency, higher peak of Nusselt number value. And obviously higher superheat is higher temporal frequency, vapor column formation. Finally, it forms the vapor column. So basically for lower superheat, we get higher time period and smaller temporal frequency. As you increase the superheat, time period becomes less, temporal frequency becomes higher, and finally, we get the column formation. Now, this is basically a summary sheet of different superheats, and this is electric influence number. That means I have not yet shown when electric field will be, electric effect of electric field. So I come back to this maybe later. This slide has been misplaced. Now, let us look at, again 5K superheat and without any electric field. So, you will see number of bubble formation sites very clearly. Now, if you apply electric field on it, you can see that this is a field of 1 × 10⁴ volt per meter. And if you increase the intensity of electric field, you will see that, the bubble formation sites, more bubble formation sites. Bubble formation sites will increase and a number of bubble formation sites are more. And here it is almost, huge number of sites, one next to another. So number of bubble formation sites increase with increase in electric field intensity. Now, what happens to the temporal scenario? Keeping the superheat constant, if we, again, the way we did it here, if we keep on changing the electric field, we will see this is perfectly periodic with, without electric field. But as and when we apply electric field, we can see still periodicity, frequency is changing. But after some time, that means after beyond 1 × 10⁵ volt per meter or so, it becomes completely aperiodic. So bubble release becomes aperiodic in time at higher values of electric field. spatial periodicity is maintained even at higher electric field value or for lower superheat, because here the superheat was not very high. Unfortunately, this is how I was very tensed before going for lunch, because again I am not getting the help. Some animations are working, some are not working. I had to do some engineering with the base file. I do not have time. So this animation I will not be able to show. But here you can see that this is with refrigerant R134A. You can see that over this domain, without electric field, there were 1, 2, half and half, 3 bubbles, and after application of electric field, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 bubbles. So these were, here very systematically we animated. Unfortunately, those animations are not visible, but I explained in nutshell what was there in that animation. And now if we look at the enhancement of heat transfer. Now, enhancement of heat transfer can be calculated using analytical theory of Johnson, and this is the expression. Amazingly, this confirms our numerical experiments, computational results. And enhancement in heat transfer due to electric field is higher in the case of lower value of superheat. This is amazing. So this is for 5K. You can see this square, solid square, and hollow sphere is for 18K. Now, with the application of electric field, you can see enhancement of heat transfer or heat flux is more in the case of lower superheat as compared to higher superheat. These are the, basically morphology of the bubbles. So if you look at focus at a single bubble, you will be able to see that with the application of electric field, these are comparison between, without electric field 5 into 10 to the power 4, 1 into 10 to the power 5. Now, bubble height doesn't change, but bubble radius keeps on changing. So this is the accountability of change in bubble height, and this is the accountability of change in bubble radius. So bubble radius keeps on decreasing with higher electric field. So maximum height of bubble remains invariant with different values of applied electric field. Radius of the bubbles decreases with decrease in electric field intensity. You can see it decreases. And change in bubble profile is due to combined influence of, and this is, we are only observing that effect of electric field, but this entire effect of electric field is changing the Maxwell stress. So this is a contribution of Maxwell stresses. Of course, capillary forces, because it is surface tension driven flow, those are already there. So next we will consider, as I said, that microgravity situation or reduced gravity situation is very important. Unfortunately, I will not be able to, again organizing the files, I did some mistake. Some microgravity calculations we did to verify the results of space station experiments, but here these are all related to reduced gravity, not really microgravity, all are related to reduced gravity. Now, this is normal gravity scenario. This photograph was done by very famous Italian scientist Di Marco, and this is boiling scenario under normal gravity. This you can see under 1/10 of gravity. The bubble size is much bigger. Bubble formation sites are separated by a larger distance, and then again on this reduced gravity the electric field is applied, and under a very strong electric field 10 kilovolt, you can see that bubble formation sites are even more, shorter than the normal gravity, and bubble sizes are even smaller than the normal gravity. So in order to get back the normal gravity situation, superimposition of electric field helps a lot. Now, to rationalize it, the characteristics length is basically root over sigma divided by rho L minus rho V into G. Now, if G reduces, obviously characteristics length will be larger and time will also be larger. So that is how the length scale and the velocity time scale changes. So electric field application reduces the length scale, and in this study we will primarily focus on the gravity values on two celestial bodies. One is Mars, which is about 1/3 the Earth's gravity. Another is Moon, which is 1/3 of the Earth's, 1/10 of the Earth's gravity. And again we take water at critical pressure and R134a. This is used really in space shuttles. So R134a at the critical pressure. So you can see that this green, these are 1, 2, 3, 4, half and half. These are basically, for the normal gravity results. Now, when you apply, 1/3 of the gravity, reduced gravity, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 bubbles. So bubbles formation sites are reduced, or the length between two sides increase. Now, if you go for Moon's gravity, clearly, close to 1/10, you can see only one bubble, half and half, two bubbles. So this is for R134a, and delta T is 20K, and you have, normal gravity, two different reduced gravities. Now, same experiment, if you, numerical experiment, if you repeat with water for 5K, you can see 1, 2, and half, 3. This is at the normal gravity. And then reduced gravity scenario, you can see 3 bubbles. 2-3 minutes, at least give me 5 minutes. Okay. So, then in Moon's gravity, you can see only one bubble, this is blue colored, and half here. Now, time is short. I will not be able to show the other results. These are again space-wise average Nusselt number distribution over time for 3 different values of gravity, and this is for water, this is for R134a, and you can see average value of heat flux. This is basically 66 kilowatt per meter square, this is 42 kilowatt per meter square, and finally this is 30 kilowatt per meter square. So average heat flux also reduces. Here also I am not reading the values, reduces. Now what happens when we apply electric field? So as I said, that the reduced gravity results are really very, sort of not very favorable results, because heat transfer reduces, bubble formation site reduces, frequency reduces. So in order to get back the normal gravity scenario, even in space vehicles, electric fields are applied. So if you apply electric field, you can see, results here. So these were without electric field, normal gravity. Then when you reduce 1/10 gravity, only half and half bubbles are seen, blue colored bubbles. And if you apply on that reduced gravity, again electric field 1 into 10 to the power 5, you can see the bubble formation sites are gotten back. Of course, bubble size cannot be reduced because it is reduced gravity, but bubble formation sites increase again to 4 or 5. I do not have time to show the detailed results. Maybe if animations work, 1 or 2 animations I can try. So here also we can summarize these results of application of electric field, that this is a situation where the case A, this is basically for the for 5K wall superheat, and 3 different normal gravity, and this is without electric field, this is electric field 5 into 10 to the power 4, this is 5 into 10 to the power 5, and you can see the changes. But with the electric field, for the normal gravity, the heat flux, average heat flux is 66 kilowatt per meter square, and when we apply electric field, we can see that there is 9% increase, and if electric field is increased even more, there will be 16% enhancement. In case of 1/3 gravity, these are the distributions, but there you can see with the application of electric field, the percentage increase 5 into 10 to the power 4 volt per meter, the percentage increase is about 30%, and 8 into 10 to the power 4 percentage increase is about 47%. But highest enhancement is obtained for the moon's gravity, that means nearly 1/10 gravity. You can see that enhancement is quite significant. So the basically if the gravitational field is for reduced gravity or for lesser values, the electric field works better, or bringing back to the normal gravity scenario, it works very effectively. And that result you can summarize here. You can see this is individually for normal gravity and for 0.16 gravity. Application of electric field, quantitatively how it increases. But when you normalize it by the critical heat flux, then you can see that basically the enhancement for the reduced gravity is more than enhancement during the normal gravity operations. Here very interesting situation, again time is short, but just I will mention that we have taken, so you have seen 2 different regimes of bubble formation. One is Rayleigh-Taylor instability and one is Taylor-Helmholtz instability. Now we have done little bit analytical work here, that analytical work means from computational results, that at different time, if you look at the evolution of the bubble, you will get these profiles. But all these profiles will collapse onto a single profile if you can scale the z direction, r direction, and time. All the curves will collapse on a single curve. And you can see that parameters, this is z direction, this is r direction, these are different times, but here parameters are y star into t star to the power alpha, here x star, t star to the power beta. X star is normalized using the initial bubble radius, and here it is normalized again using the initial bubble radius, and time is normalized using the viscous time. And for different zones, it will give different indices, alpha and beta value. Here for the Rayleigh-Taylor zone, it is 1.25 and beta is 0.5. Now this can be repeated as this is again Rayleigh-Taylor. You can go for Taylor-Helmholtz also, right? So at different time instants, it will keep on changing, but all these curves will collapse on a single curve if you can parameterize the similarity variables. So this is basically these 2 similarity variables covering the dimensions and time together, and here alpha is 6.4 and beta is 4.5. So this is in a very modest way, I would say, one recognized discovery of discovering similarity parameters in both the regimes of boiling, Taylor-Helmholtz instability regime and Rayleigh-Taylor instability regime. So I will have to stop here, because otherwise probably organizers will be very unhappy. The third topic was on nucleate boiling, but most probably because of paucity of time, I have to stop here. If I get another chance, maybe very informally, I can come to mechanical engineering department and give a full talk on nucleate boiling.
Hello. Thanks, Professor Viswas, for an illuminating lecture in the field of boiling and boil formations. Now I would open the house for a couple of questions, short questions, quickly. Yes?
So it seems that this regarding heat transfer, first point is heat transfer is more friendly to, less friendly to microgravity, right?
Yeah.
So, and
reduced gravity. We have. I could not show here. Microgravity is 10 to the power minus 5 or so.
This is first
See, we have gone up to, as you can see, that 1/3 and 1/10 of normal gravity.
So it reduces with when gravity is reduced, and at the same time, but in connection to electrical field, so the heat transfer increases with the influence of electrical field. So individually, why it is like that? What is the physics behind it? What does it why does it happen like that?
See, this is then, we can go by two levels. If you go by macroscopic fluid mechanics, then you can see the length scale is root over sigma divided by rho g, rho L minus rho g into g. So that is the length scale sitting there. And if you keep on reducing g, length scale will be larger. Length scale will be larger means the separation distance between two bubble formation sites, which is called Taylor's most dangerous wavelength, that length will keep on increasing. So obviously bubble formation sites will be less in number over a given space, and the heat transfer will be less. And this can be compensated by application of electric field, because by application of electric field, basically what you are doing, if it is dielectric or leaky dielectric, you are playing with intermolecular attractive forces. And because of enhancement of, again, intermolecular attractive forces, the wavelength shrinks. This goes little bit beyond the macroscopic definition, goes to the basically the forces like van der Waals forces, where it reduces basically the space by increasing intermolecular attractive forces. So these are two, basically counterbalancing effects. It is really not resistance in that sense. See, resistance at any location will be determined by the film thickness there. Now, film thickness will virtually reduce to zero where pinch off will take place. Full bubble formation will be done and pinch off will take place. Now, after pinch off taking place, that place will not be having a vapor layer in place. Instead, the residual vapors after pinch off will be drawn. I have to show much more detailed calculations. Will be drawn as such. I have very ready answers, but this is the answer. through this. This is basically vapor, called vapor recoiling force. You can see some, negative velocity here, right, which is drawing towards the substrate. So this is the total velocity of the bubble when it is going up, getting disseminated, but the residual vapor that is being drawn to the substrate. And when it is coming back, it is almost impinging. Now that part, when you have reduced gravity, those locations are far apart where you have that impingement effect. But when you are applying electric field, again those zones are getting created. It is not reducing bubble size, because the length scale from that point of view, bubble size will be still, not as big as without reduced gravity, but will somewhat reduce. But these sites where maximum point of heat transfer is taking place alternatively, those sites will get closer. And as a result, the total heat transfer will be enhanced.
Yes.
The liquid which was on top of the vapor layer, was it isothermal? Like, I mean, in the y direction, did the temperature change?
See, this liquid pool temperature changed, yes.
So the surface tension would, which is a function of temperature, would also vary with the...
No. See, pool temperature is changing. But interface is at a saturation.
Saturation, okay.
So, along the interface, if there is temperature gradient, then there will be surface tension gradient.
Okay.
Then there will be Marangoni. I explained this at the outset, that this is in absence of Marangoni.
Thank you, Professor Biswas. We are indeed delighted to have you here, and definitely with the time span would have been more, you would have been able to speak out a lot of things, so we can discuss in the outside.